3,000-year-old honey was found in Egyptian tombs, and it was still edible. How does something made by an insect outlast entire civilizations? It starts with a flower. Flowers produce nectar, a thin, watery sugar solution, often around 50 to 80% water, though this varies widely by plant and conditions. On its own, it would ferment and rot within days. A forager bee sucks up nectar into a special honey stomach, a separate organ from its actual stomach. One bee must visit up to 1,500 flowers just to fill that tiny sac. Here's where the magic starts. Inside the honey stomach, the bee adds enzymes, special proteins that begin chemically dismantling the nectar's sugars. The key enzyme is called invertase. Back at the hive, the forager passes the nectar mouth to mouth to a house bee, and then to another and another. This chain can involve up to 20 bees, each adding more enzymes and processing the nectar further through regurgitation and manipulation. But the real transformation is about water. Remember, nectar is a very watery solution, often with more than 50% water. If starting with nectar at a high water content like 80%, for example, the hive has to evaporate over 3/4 of the moisture out to reach honey's finished water content of just 17%. The bees do this by fanning. Tens of thousands of wings beat simultaneously, turning the hive into a living dehumidifier. The air rushes over open honeycomb cells and pulls moisture out of the nectar like a giant hairdryer. When the water drops below 18%, something extraordinary happens. The honey becomes chemically hostile to bacteria. Microbes simply cannot survive there because the honey's extremely low water content creates immense osmotic pressure, drawing all the water out of their cells and dehydrating them. There's one more weapon: hydrogen peroxide. The enzyme glucose oxidase, also added by the bees, reacts with sugar and produces tiny amounts of hydrogen peroxide continuously. It's a built-in, self-renewing antiseptic. Once the water is low enough, bees seal each cell with a wax cap, an airtight lid. Sealed from air and moisture, the honey can sit for millennia. That Egyptian honey wasn't lucky, it was engineered.